great information to share with you to help you in every area of your life, especially your business. And today we're really going to be talking about how to build stronger client relationships. And I know you know, but this is so important. And I think that advisors don't always think about how to be a little bit more deliberate with this. Maybe you're thinking like, oh, I have great client relationships. Cool. And when you're more conscious of it and conscious of how to build those even more effectively, I really think that your clients will feel that and your business will grow. And today we have such a wonderful guest, and she's a new friend of mine. We met through another referral, but really kind of met on LinkedIn, which I love how my network is expanding that way. And our expert today is Colleen Bowler. She's, of course, a CFP. She had spent over 25 years building and growing a financial advisory firm, Strategic Wealth Partners. And along the way, got all sorts of accolades and awards in the industry. And what I love is that in her bio, she actually said that what she feels is one of her greatest successes is the impact she's made on her clients and her team. And she, of course, worked with hundreds of individuals. She also had a succession plan and over 3 years was able to successfully execute that. And as we know, that's A, not easy to do, and B, I just saw a statistic, some huge percentage of advisors are going to be retiring and have no succession plan. So that's not what we're talking about on this show. Maybe we'll bring Colleen back to talk about that on another show. Cool thing that she's working on now is since 2020, she's been working with Jeannie Hurlburt, PhD, and they've created these amazing assessments and surveys that you can use as an advisor to better understand your clients, prospects, and expand the conversations that you have with them. So I'm sure we'll get into talking more about that. And another cool thing in her bio is she was a coach for Strategic Coach. And are you still a coach with Strategic?
Still a coach, yeah.
She's still a coach. And anyone in this industry knows how wonderful that program is and how effective, whether you've been in it or not, you've heard about it and know people that have and had great results. So, Colleen, yay, thank you for being here.
So exciting. I'm so excited. Having met you, I can't wait for the conversation.
Cool. So let's dig right in and talk about, how would you recommend that advisors grow beyond like the traditional way they work with their clients in the financial discussions that they traditionally have to create even deeper, more impactful relationships with their clients?
I think one of the biggest things, and I've spoken with advisors for years, having been one for over 25 years and gotten to go to a lot of great events and spoken at events, is really it's in the questions that we're asking. The people that are watching this, I believe, are really good at what they do. People are coming to the advisors having gotten a referral or having checked out every piece of social media that you have now. They know coming in. They expect you to be really good at what you do. The question is, are you really good? And can you demonstrate how much you really care about them and their families? And I believe that is in the questions.
So in your experience with it, did you just develop questions over time? Are there certain ones that you found were very helpful? And because you speak to so many advisors in your industry conferences, do you find that the questions need to be customized for the advisors so they sound authentic, or you think there's some that really work for all advisors?
So early in my career, and I started in the middle of a divorce with a sick 3-year-old. I made $14,000 the first year. So, selling it with $500 million of assets under management and having these incredible clients, that long journey was really paying attention and learning to other people like you and other advisors in the industry to see what they are doing. The education piece, the CFP all of that. I think that is critical. But simple things like, I think it was probably 5 years in, I realized that I was coming into the meeting with my agenda or our team's agenda for our client. And this was a stupid thing, but the client had a plumbing issue. And they really didn't care what my agenda was. They cared that I could figure out who the plumber was that could help them. And literally right there, we got the plumber that was going to meet them at their house. And then they could calm down and actually be present at the meeting. So from that meeting, the first thing on every agenda that we did over the years said questions, comments, and concerns. People could, advisors could change that up however they want, but questions, comments, and concerns, they know coming into the meeting that that's the first thing on the agenda. And sometimes we never get to the rest, but they come in knowing that it's all about them instead of all about us and our numbers and, whatever, all the things that we want to talk about, whether it's life insurance or long-term care. We did full planning. So we want to make sure that they understand it's about them. And to me, that creates that partnership, that collaboration.
I am so impressed that it only took you 5 years to figure that out, because the advisors I talk to, and many of them that I work with, have been in business 20 years or more. That is revolutionary to think about co-creating an agenda with a client. They're like, oh, because we have this feeling as advisors, or I did when I was an advisor, they were supposed to be there to advise. And yes, of course, clients come to you for that, but sometimes you're really just there, and it sounds like you're naturally really good at this, to listen and figure out how you can help them in any way. I think that's really, and back then, really revolutionary. So I hope that you realize, and you probably do because you've talked to so many advisors, how so far ahead of the curve you were back then and still are.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but I love your conversation about co-creating, because that's really, in all the new information, if any advisor's reading anything, especially younger clients, they are wanting coaches, they are wanting collaborators. It's no longer, I know you don't know. You used to come in with all of your expertise and why I'm so good. They know whether or not you're good or not. What they want to know is, are you someone they want to work with? And do you care about their family? And do you care about finding a plumber, and helping them?
So what are some other ways you can evidence to clients besides saying, like, I care about my clients? Because somehow when you say that, that's like when years ago, when I was with this financial services firm, my broker dealer had me in a video, and they had me saying, I am a trusted advisor. And I couldn't say it with a straight face. I kept laughing. And the videographer was like, stop laughing. Like, this is so stupid. I would never say, I am a trusted advisor. That is, when we say that, people are like, aren't you saying
I have
that?
integrity. I have integrity.
Right. You better. So what are some ways that you evidence that you really cared about your clients? Are there other questions you asked, or is there some other thing that you and your team did so people really felt that you cared, not just kind of intellectually got it?
Well, I think, Ellen, over the years of asking questions, comments, and concerns, you start developing your own library, so to speak, of what your right fit client, what their issues are, what their concerns are, what's most important to them. And so really those mindsets, like wellness, if advisors don't know, average weight gain during COVID was 29 pounds. Mm. When that is an issue, when health is an issue, when someone has an issue with that, that takes a lot of energy away from their planning, or it could put energy towards their planning. So it is knowing things and broadening that conversation about their life instead of just their finances.
Mhm.
Yes, finances touch every part of their life. But when someone said, I have a goal that at the end of the year, I'd like to lose, 15 pounds. We would put that in our action items. The email that went out afterwards, their goals, whether they be financial or not, were in that email. I wanted them to know that they were heard. And if we had something like a book or an app, anything we could do to help that goal come to fruition. The financial goals, that's our job. That's our job. Right. We're going to make that happen. But how can I help them? How can we help them in the other areas of their life? Which I think is really shows that partnership, the collaboration.
It's beautiful. Mm-hmm. So I know you talk about that there's 8 critical success mindsets, and it does cover all these different areas of your life. Can you talk about that a little bit more?
Sure. We found that for everyone, whatever age, there were 5 core. That would be, as advisors, we call it readiness mindset, but we know it's an emergency fund, because an emergency fund, if someone has that, they're going to have the confidence to make decisions in times of crises that they wouldn't if they didn't have any money there. So readiness, caring. Does someone know where their documents are? We saw this during COVID, people in the hospital and nobody could get a hold of passwords or knew where their documents were. So foundation for themselves, like as advisors, we know it would be something like disability insurance. If something happens that machine that's in the garage that stops working, is it insured? Or life insurance for your family if something happens. So that foundation. Partnership. Do they feel they're in a partnership with their advisor? Those things are key. And then, the younger, 45 and under, it's about accumulation, college education, house, boat, things like that. 45 and above, purpose, income. We talk so much about asset allocation. We also need to talk about asset distribution, right? Asset location. So those things are different based upon ages.
How did you talk about purpose with your clients?
We talked about it as walk away. We found our clients didn't like the word retire because it didn't sound good. So we would talk about walk away. What is it that you want to do when you walk away from what you are currently doing? Some people really loved what they were currently doing and some people didn't. But what we found as clients walked away, and once again, all those years of working with them, if they didn't have a purpose, something in mind for when they did walk away, it made that so much more difficult. They didn't have to know exactly what it is they wanted to do, but to start having that conversation.
Yeah, I remember when I was working with people that went from income accumulation or from asset accumulation to income distribution. That was such a big transition for people, so stressful. And I had a couple of women that I worked with that just kept working because they didn't have a vision, and they had plenty of money. It wasn't a financial, and they weren't really working because they still loved it. It was because they didn't know what they would do next, and they were kind of really successful in their businesses. And I was smiling inside when you said walk away, because when I sold my firm, and people would say, "Oh, Ellen, you're retired." I get so defensive. First of all, I'm not retired. I had another thing I was doing. And I saw myself, I'm like, "Oh, I'm retired." Really, it pushed a button in me. So I'm glad I wasn't the only one. And yes. So that's really interesting. I also love the way that you've given terms to these things that land and resonate with people and show something broader than just the numbers part of it: readiness, caring, foundation, partnership. And it sounds like it's a real system, which it was. I don't mean it just sounds like that it was part of your process. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And so, it is such a competitive landscape for advisors now. Not if you pre-COVID, it felt like, there was competition from robo-advisors or, other professionals that say they're advisors. But it was also mostly in your area that you felt like there was competition. Now that everybody's comfortable on video, when people call me and ask for a referral for advisors, I still get asked a lot. Either I'm working with them in some other way or they just call me. I always ask, do you care where they live? And nobody cares.
Yeah,
they don't care if they're in a different part of the country. So the competition, if you want to call it that, has just expanded. So what are some ways you think are important for advisors to set themselves apart from other people that are advisors or say they are?
For one thing, I would really support them in appreciating that there isn't competition, that truly they're really good financial advisors that care, that ask these questions. They're fewer than we wish there would be. And that the competition really is the experiences their clients are having. Like when their experience at Neiman's or their experience at a really nice hotel, their experience at being taken care of or not. So I think that's the competition that we as advisors or advisors need to pay attention to. And the other thing is, if somebody wants to go to 1-800-NO-HELP, go for it. That's probably not the client of anybody that's listening, right? 1-800-NO-HELP, happy to. And in the past, when you could say, oh, we can outperform by what, it really, that's not it, right? The distinguishing factor is, what are you doing as an advisor, for changing? And that sounds odd, but if you're still doing the same annual review that you did 5 years ago, clients see that. If we're not upping our game regularly, and that's that education piece, those are the things, but just changing our agendas, changing the experience in the Zoom, changing the experience. There are a bunch of people that still like to go to people's offices. So what are we doing to do that? I think that's really important. This little assessment that we're doing, it's not little, I shouldn't say.
I was going to stop you from saying that. I'm glad you caught yourself.
Thank you. It's 5 minutes. It is something that advisors are doing to help open up that conversation quickly about all these different mindsets. It takes 5 minutes, and it's on the advisor site. It changes their process. And some advisors are like, I don't want to change my process. And my coaching to them is always, it's a really good thing to change your process. If we haven't changed it in the last year or the last 2 years, we're leaving clients behind because they're changing. And so what are advisors doing to change?
So let's talk more about the assessment, and then I want to come back and talk about experience because I think it all ties in. But so the assessment that you and Jeannie have created, which is patent pending, which I think is really interesting as well. Is this something that advisors give to just prospects they haven't met with? You said, no, it's for clients too. Just talk a little bit more about how it works and how advisors can use this to build relationships with clients and prospects.
So with prospects, it's on our 8 mindsets, whether they're 45 or under or above 45, 2 different needs at that time. And on a scale of 1 to 12, always we want to make sure we have room for growth. The prospect or client would go to the advisor site, and it's all private labeled for them, and it's 5 minutes, and they pick 1 through 12. Where are they now? in 8 core mindsets. And there's little questions that they answer and tells them, and they pick. It takes about 5 minutes. And then there is a report that's given, once again, from the advisor's site. The advisor gets the actual report, and it gives them action items right away. I think there's nothing more frustrating than taking one of those assessments and saying, this is where you are, and this is where you want to be in your future, and contact so-and-so, right? You can't take action. People want to take action now. So we purposely gave about 8 action items for each mindset. So the advisor can integrate and say, wait a minute, 8 is way too many. Let's focus on 1 or 2 that you want to get done in the next, 6 months or a year or whatever it is. So it's very interactive with the advisor.
And then are advisors giving this to existing clients? And is there any hesitation that they're worried their clients are going to be like, why haven't we talked about this before? I could see an advisor being like, I don't want to do that because they'll realize we never talked about, readiness, or I don't know which one it would be.
Sure. That can be a concern. What we really say is, people love it when we're expanding our firm, whether it's the services or the people in the firm. And we coach them to say, we're expanding our services, and we'd love for you to take this quick 5-minute assessment on 8 core mindsets. And then we're going to be able to talk about it once it's done or at the next meeting. And it's actually now part of annual review process because let's take wellness. And in 2021, someone was on a scale of 1 to 10. Maybe they were an 8 right now and they want to be a 12. And a year later, they're a 6. They've dropped down. None of us really stay consistent in everything. It's kind of hard. So it really supports the advisor in finding out quickly what's really on their mind, their prospect or client's mind.
That's cool. I also love that you go to 12. I used to, some of the teaching I do, I'll have people look at scale from 0 to 10 and say no 7s, which is something I learned because that's like a cheaty number. But if you do to 12, then people are like, they don't even know what the cheat number is because we're so used to going till 10.
Right.
It's great.
And a lot of people want to go, well, why isn't it just 1 to 4? Well, 1 to 4 doesn't really allow for a lot of growth. And that's the growth in the conversation, the growth in the partnership, the growth to see where you are. And the other thing it does for prospects, it says, where are you now? Where do you want to be in your future? If someone only wants to be a 6 on a scale of 1 to 12 in their future on wellness, on emergency, on foundation, on caring, is that really a client that you want to have? Mm-hmm. And that could be a good conversation because right fit clients are so important that as an advisor has, that it's a really good fit.
For sure. And it makes, I call them perfect fit clients, but it makes everything so much easier. It goes so much more flowing. Advisors that I've seen that have gotten really clear on that just have so much more ease in their practice. And I love that there's different ways to look at clients. Is a little bit off of what we were talking about, but I don't think off a topic that you're going to be comfortable with. But this assessing a client's just based on their AUM or like these, are they A, B, and C clients? Or are they gold, silver, platinum? There's part of that, yes, I get you want to make sure you have profitability in your practice, but to be looking at the qualitative factors, the psychographic, because you could have all on paper A clients because they have like the AUM you're looking for, they're paying you the right fees, whatever those quantitative things are. But if they're all jerks, like your staff's going to quit, you're going to be miserable. So and it's not just an experience thing. I think that there's advisors I've worked with who've been around forever that aren't actually even thinking about if they're working with people they really adore working with.
Yeah. And a couple of things on that, Ellen. Number one, I hope all advisors realize their best client are their team because you lose an A-plus client, that's hard. You use an A-plus team member, that's really hard. So that's one thing. But the other thing is there is a huge transfer of wealth happening to women. I worked with a lot of widows, and over my career, maybe there were 2 men. There were a lot more women as widows than men. And this conversation about mindsets opens men up and it brings women in. It is something that they tend to be easier at having, but I don't know what was. So the latest stat on the average age of a widow is 56 to 59, depending upon whose stat you're looking at. But what is the percentage? Ellen, you might know this more than me. It's like 78% of widows change advisors. It is because the lack of encompassing the whole person, I believe, instead of just the money.
I also think that it relates to having an empathy or a sensitivity at that point in time. Like, I always thought, wrongly, that it's like, oh, it's the guys that are losing those women. The women advisors aren't losing those women. And it's because women, like, I had this whole total wrong thing. And I remember I lost a client who lost her husband. And I was like, she was the one who handled all the money. This is going to be easy for her. And I moved too quickly. And it's not easy for anybody to lose their spouse. And she wasn't where she was. And I just made assumptions because she wasn't that less involved partner. She handled everything. So it's really an important thing for every advisor to assess, like, how good of a job are you really doing then? And really for that person, and not putting all widows in one box, like all women clients in one box, like that. I know that would drive you crazy too.
No, but that's a really, really good point, because we all have blind spots. And thank you for sharing that, because we all do. We all have blind spots. And so, hopefully something like the passport or the assessments will help everyone do that. The other thing is that multi-generation, we were very successful at working with multi-generations, because the 25, 30, 40-year-olds, they can do the assessments, and it creates another relationship. And hopefully we tried to keep them with younger advisors on the team instead of people like me, because I was more their parents' age.
Yeah, and I love that you had a team of all different ages too, so that your clients could see there is a succession plan and that they can be with your firm for a very long period of time. And it's something for advisors to also maybe push them a little bit more to have that plan, so that there's people following behind them, so their clients are well taken care of for a very long time.
Yes. Because succession is like dating. It doesn't happen the first time.
A discussion for another show, for sure.
Yes.
Colleen, thank you so much. I'm so glad that I know you and you've come into my life. I feel like we've become virtual friends very quickly, and I get to meet you in person soon when you're going to be in Chicago, and we may be out in California together for some other event. And I want to make sure people know how to find out about your assessments and more about you. Where should they go if they want to learn more about you and the work that you're doing?
So LinkedIn is C&J Innovations, and my LinkedIn, Colleen Bowler, CFP, or our website, cnjinnovations.com.
Yeah, great. And then are there also ways that advisors can experience your assessments, or is that they should reach out to you individually? Or
they can reach out individually, or they can go just to the website and click on the links and do it themselves. It's a great thing to experience. We've yet to have an advisor say that, oh, I think there's something in there that I should do myself. Just little things that we all forget. And it's great to have the individual do it either as themselves or as they believe a prospect or client would.
Yeah. Well, that happened to me when I did the passport. I'm like, I feel really good on most of this stuff, but we haven't really had a conversation with our kids about where our documents are and how our estate plan works. So, and now you're reminding me about that again.
Okay.
So that is on my...
I'll follow up with you on that.
Please do. Please do. Great. So thank you so much. I'm so honored to have you on and grateful for you to... Excuse me. I'm so honored to have you on and grateful to have you sharing this really important information with the viewers and listeners. Thank you, Colleen.
Thank you, Ellen. You're just such a gift to the industry. I really appreciate it. Appreciate you.
Thank you. You're sweet. And I appreciate each and every one of you listening and watching this. Again, my name is Ellen Rogan, and you can find out more about me at ellenrogan.com. And if you go to ellenrogan.com/horse's mouth, you can download my special report about what extraordinary advisors know that others don't. And I'm going to do a little bit of a selfless plug here. In the next couple of weeks, my book, and this is the draft version, so it won't have a line across it, but my next book, Messages for Money, is going to be out in the world. We have a little bit of early reviews. It's already ranked number one in new releases in personal finance books, and we haven't even officially launched yet. So shameless plug. And thank you all for being here. My question to ask today is how are you building a deeper relationship with your clients? And remember, be great and create great every single